Greedflation, it seems.
Greedflation. What the heck is greedflation?
There's a growing consensus that greedflation has played a role.
Greedflation is itself causing far larger price spikes than any other factor.
You've probably heard the term greedflation being thrown around over the past couple of weeks. Now, whether you want to call it greedflation, excuseflation, or something else entirely, the questions that need to be answered are: 1, what is it? 2, is it really happening? And 3, what can be done to keep my gosh dang chicken from getting more expensive than it already is? Let's start with the first question. What is greedflation? The term greedflation was coined essentially to say that the higher prices we are experiencing are due in large part to corporations hiking prices far beyond that of what they need to in order to maintain their profit margins. So a simple example of this would be if the price of inputs for a can of soda, sugar, water, aluminum, etc., all went up by like 3%. But the soda company decided to raise their price by 7, 8, or even 50%. Then that same company and others like it are then able to turn around and say to the public, oh, we're so sorry about these high prices, but inflation is just really tough on us all. Or this war in Ukraine is really hurting everyone with the supply chain issues and stuff like that. Greedflation doesn't mean that corporate greed is the only cause of higher prices, but it does assert that it is a major cause of goods we buy every day getting more and more expensive, even though they probably shouldn't get as expensive as they're getting. Second, is it really happening? As you can see from this graph, corporate profits surged from an average of around 5% over the past decade to nearly 10% since the pandemic. But I promise if you get the CEO of McDonald's opinion on the matter, he's not going to say, oh yeah, we're bleeding those working class families dry with our Happy Meals. Even still, McDonald's saw record profits last year with the same store sales skyrocketing by over 13%. Nestle has seen their profits jump by 10%, and Pepsi is expecting higher sales even though it raised prices by 13%. And we all know that water, aluminum, and sugar prices have not jumped by 13%. So it's established that prices are going up. But is it massive corporate demons holding the virtuous little guy hostage? Or is it something else? Lots of catchy headlines will tell you that everything wrong with the economy is because of greedflation. Some going so far as to say it's going to cause the end of capitalism as we know it. Additionally, according to a survey of over 2,000 Americans by market research firm Attest, more than 50% of people believe that greedflation is happening a lot, and only 1% think that it's not happening at all. So, are companies raising prices more than inflation? Yes, of course they are. But are they raising prices entirely out of a newfound lust for money that they never had felt in their frozen corporate hearts before? I'm not convinced. Here's how I see it. Greed is not something new in the American economy. Some people even argue that it's at the root of capitalism itself. So if companies have always been greedy, why would it be just now that they're boosting their profits? I believe this all goes back to everyone's favorite general education class, Econ 101. We're talking supply and demand, baby. And to do so, let's do everyone's favorite hypothetical example. Let's say you're a middle schooler, but you're not just any middle schooler. No. You're an entrepreneurial middle schooler who still can't spell entrepreneur. You've started a side hustle selling fidget spinners because I'm old and don't know what the kids do nowadays. You're selling each for $3 a pop. Then one day, everyone comes to school with an extra $150 in their pocket. Apparently, everyone's parents decided that since school is really tough, they deserve some extra money to spend. Now here's the question. As the morally perfect person you are, unlike all those other scum on this planet, what do? Do you keep selling the spinners for $3? Or do you raise prices? Now you might see some parallels here between that example and the stimulus checks most of us received a couple of years ago. However, it also has strong parallels with the American Rescue Plan passed back in March of 2021. What I and many economists believe might be happening is that the overstimulation of the economy has led businesses to do what businesses do and raise prices as far as people will allow them to. It seems unreasonable to me to believe that somehow all these companies that hate each other are willing to avoid cutting costs to steal market share away from one another in order to keep these prices high. If they really were working together to keep prices high, that would be considered collusion, which is extremely illegal. However, if they're responding to higher demand with higher prices, and they know that people are willing to pay those prices and they don't have any good alternatives, that's just economics, baby. Now, regardless of if greedflation is truly all due to corporate greed or not, the question still stands of how can we keep my chicken from getting more expensive? Although some policymakers have suggested that government should step in to set prices, this seems like it's going to open a whole can of worms that isn't worth it. And I want chicken, not worms. TGI Fridays messed that up one too many times. The good news is that market forces still seem to be in place. For example, Kingsford Charcoal raised their price for 8 pounds of charcoal to $7.92. The only issue here is that you can buy 16 pounds of charcoal from the Walmart brand for $7.88. So what happened? Kingsford lost market share. People weren't willing to pay more for the name brand. The loss of market share generally is a strong deterrent from rampant price gouging. But in industries that do not have easy substitutes or people are not willing to go to said substitutes, like you're not willing to change from Pepsi to Shasta, those industries are able to raise their prices by more. So on an individual level, what we can do to fight greedflation is quit being brand loyal. They aren't loyal to us, so we shouldn't be loyal to them. As much as I love Tyson chicken, I know that no chicken wing sorter in any factory is going, oh, Kobe's gonna really like this piece of chicken. So if I see Tyson's prices are going up beyond what I'm used to buying, I'll buy Kroger or Signature Brand because Brady isn't the GOAT, Costco is. Sadly, it is tough for one person to create economy-wide changes, but the least that we can do is vote with our dollar. The other possible thing we could do is advocate for less red tape in industries with the highest price hikes. Less red tape should, at least in theory, allow for more entrants into the industry, create higher level of competitions, and thus lower prices. In the end, with big issues like the national economy, there are rarely easy or simple fixes. Even still, as an individual, the best thing you can do is be informed. The more information you have, the better you'll be able to find deals that best suit you and your financial needs and goals. And if you're wanting to find more quality content about business and personal finance, make sure to check out my other videos here and here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.